The silent invasion. Commander Nathaniel Pierce stared at the massive viewscreen on Orbital Defense Station Hyperion, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of Earth below. Something was wrong. The station's long-range sensors had detected anomalies at the edge of the solar system 3 days ago, gravitational distortions that shouldn't exist. Now communications with Earth had become spotty, with strange interference patterns no one could identify. "Commander, you need to see this," called technical specialist Raj Kapoor, his voice tense as he adjusted the external cameras. Sector 7 approaching Earth's atmosphere. The viewscreen shifted, and Pierce's blood ran cold. Massive objects, clearly not natural phenomena, were materializing in Earth's orbit. Black, angular structures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, each one easily the size of a small city. "How many?" Pierce asked, his voice steady despite the fear rising in his chest. 23 vessels detected so far," replied Lieutenant Zoe Winters from the tactical station. "No emissions or radiation signatures we can identify. They're just there." Pierce activated the station-wide comm. "All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill." He turned to his second-in-command, Major Gabriel Ortiz. "Get me a direct line to Central Command. Now." But it was already too late. The viewscreen showed green beams extending from the vessels toward Earth's surface, targeting major population centers with surgical precision. There was no explosion, no visible destruction. Something far more insidious was occurring. "What are they doing?" whispered Dr. Amara Patel, the station's chief scientist, her dark eyes wide with horror. The answer came 12 hours later when they intercepted the transmission that blanketed Earth's communication systems. The beings called themselves the Voidborn, and they hadn't come to destroy humanity. They had come to harvest it. "Human consciousness contains unique processing capabilities," the monotone voice explained through the speakers. "Your minds will serve the greater collective. Resistance is inefficient." For 3 days, the skeleton crew of Orbital Defense Station Hyperion, all 38 of them, watched helplessly as humanity fell. The Voidborn's neural harvesting technology swept across continents, transforming people into empty vessels, their conscious minds extracted and integrated into the alien network. "They're using human consciousness as a biological computing system," Dr. Patel explained, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep as she analyzed the data they had gathered. "It's brilliant and horrifying. They're not killing anyone, they're repurposing them." Pierce stood at the observation window, watching the green sweep of harvesting beams crawl across North America. "How many do you think are left?" Major Ortiz checked the readings. "If the pattern holds, maybe a few thousand scattered in remote areas. Anyone with functioning neural activity is being detected and harvested." "We're the last free humans in orbit," Pierce said, "possibly the last organized group anywhere." He turned to face his crew, determination hardening his features. "And that means we're humanity's last hope." The station wasn't designed for long-term habitation, but they had supplies for 6 months if they rationed carefully. More importantly, they had something the Voidborn didn't know existed, a military research station invisible to conventional detection methods. The station's quantum shielding technology had been experimental, designed to hide them from Earth-based monitoring systems during classified operations. Now it was keeping them hidden from the invaders. "We need to understand what we're facing," Pierce ordered. "Dr. Patel, I want everything you can give me on their technology. Lieutenant Winters, analyze their patrol patterns. Kapoor, see if you can crack their communications encryption." For weeks, they observed and gathered intelligence. The Voidborn had established processing centers in major cities, where the mindless human bodies were put to work expanding their infrastructure. Massive structures rose from the ruins of once vibrant metropolises, neural network hubs that pulsed with stolen consciousness. Dr. Patel rarely left her lab, analyzing the data from their drones and intercepted communications. When she finally emerged, dark circles under her eyes, she was smiling. "I found something," she announced to Pierce and the others in the command center. "Their neural network, the system they're using to house human consciousness, it's not designed for human minds." "What do you mean?" asked Kapoor, looking up from his terminal. "Human consciousness is inherently chaotic, creative, unpredictable. The Voidborn system is built for order and efficiency. The human minds inside are creating tiny anomalies, glitches in their network." She brought up a display showing energy pattern analyses. "Look at these disruptions. They're small, but they're growing." "Can we use this?" Pierce asked, hope flickering for the first time in months. I believe so. I've been working on a code, a wake-up call if you will. If we can upload it directly into their main processing hub, it could trigger a cascading consciousness reawakening. The human minds would essentially rebel against the system. Hope spread through the room like a tangible force. For the first time since the invasion, they had a potential weapon. But deploying it wouldn't be easy. They would need to get close to one of the Voidborn's primary neural hubs, massive structures that now dominated Earth's landscape. We've detected unusual activity in Sector 16, reported Lieutenant Winters one evening, bringing up satellite imagery of a mountainous region. There appears to be a group of free humans operating in the area. The footage showed a small band of people moving through ruins, evading Voidborn patrols with practiced precision. Their leader was a tall woman with distinctive red hair tied back in a practical braid. How is that possible? Major Ortiz asked. How did they avoid the harvesting? Dr. Patel studied the footage. Certain neurological conditions might create resistance to their technology, or perhaps physical barriers blocked the initial harvesting wave in some areas. We need to contact them, Pierce decided. They could be our way in. It took weeks of careful planning. They modified a stealth drone to drop a secure communication device near the resistance group's hideout. When they finally connected, the woman's face appeared on their screen, determined, fierce, alive. My name is Dahlia Reyes, she said. There are more like us, not many, but we're fighting. Who are you? Commander Nathaniel Pierce, Orbital Defense Station Hyperion. We might have a way to fight back, but we need your help. Dahlia's group had been studying Voidborn patrol patterns, mapping their movements and weaknesses. Combined with the station's aerial surveillance and Dr. Patel's technological insights, a plan began to form. The neural hub in what used to be San Francisco is the primary processing center for the Western Hemisphere, Dr. Patel explained during a joint strategy session with Dahlia's team. If we can upload my code there, it could spread throughout their entire network. Getting inside won't be easy, Dahlia warned. They have human guards, empty ones, and their own sentinels. We've lost good people trying to get close. That's why we need to coordinate, Pierce said. My team will approach from orbit in our emergency descent vehicle. It's small, fast, and stealthy. Your group creates a distraction at their eastern perimeter. Major Ortiz pointed to the tactical display. Once inside, we need to reach the central processing core. That's where Dr. Patel's code needs to be uploaded. Who's going? Kapper asked. Pierce looked around the room at his crew. I'll lead the ground team. Dr. Patel has to come. She understands the code better than anyone. I need one technical specialist and one combat specialist. Kapper and Winters immediately volunteered. The rest of you will maintain the station, Pierce continued. If we fail, you'll be humanity's final hope. Find another way. That night, Pierce stood alone in the observation bay, looking down at the blue planet that had once been home. From up here, Earth still looked peaceful, beautiful. You couldn't see the enslavement, the emptiness in billions of eyes. We're still here, he whispered to the planet below, and tomorrow we start taking you back. As Earth continued its silent spin beneath them, the last free humans in orbit prepared for a mission that would either save their species or end the final resistance. The Voidborn had tried to erase humanity, but they had underestimated the very thing that made human minds so valuable, their stubborn refusal to be contained. Commander Nathaniel Pierce turned from the viewport and walked to the hangar bay where their modified descent vehicle waited. Tomorrow, they would remind the invaders why humans should never be underestimated. Reclaiming humanity. The descent module shuddered violently as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Cramped inside the small craft, Commander Pierce, Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Winters, and technical specialist Kapper clutched their harnesses while monitoring the approach trajectory. Voidborn vessels detected, Winters reported, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 3 interceptors moving to investigate. Pierce grimaced. Their stealth systems were working, but the Voidborn's sensor technology was more advanced than they'd anticipated. Evasive pattern Delta, he ordered. Take us in low over the Pacific. The module banked sharply, skimming just above the ocean's surface. Through the viewports, they caught glimpses of a transformed world, massive alien structures rising from the shoreline, strange iridescent energy fields spanning entire city blocks. Dahlia, do you copy? Pierce transmitted as they approached the North American coastline. We're approaching the insertion point. Static crackled before a voice broke through. We copy, Commander. Distraction begins in 3 minutes. Get ready. On the eastern perimeter of what had once been San Francisco, Dahlia Reyes and her band of resistance fighters were preparing to deploy sonic disruptors, devices they'd salvaged from abandoned military installations. The Voidborn had demonstrated unusual sensitivity to specific sound frequencies, a weakness Dahlia's group had exploited previously to create temporary diversions. Remember, Dahlia told her fighters, we hold their attention for 15 minutes then fall back to extraction point Charlie. No heroics. As the resistance activated their disruptors, the effect was immediate. Voidborn sentinels abandoned their patrol routes, converging on the disturbance. The mindless human guards followed, marching in perfect unison toward the eastern perimeter. On the western side of the neural hub, Pierce's team landed their module in a narrow alley between two crumbling buildings. We're on the ground, Pierce radioed back to Major Ortiz on Hyperion, beginning infiltration. Dr. Patel activated her tablet, showing a three-dimensional map of the neural hub. We need to reach the central processing chamber. According to our intel, it should be 50 levels up. Moving through the shadows, they witnessed the horror of humanity's enslavement up close. Empty-eyed humans worked methodically, constructing alien technology or transporting materials, moving with the precise, emotionless efficiency of machines. None showed any awareness of the infiltration team slipping past them. How much time? Pierce asked as they reached a maintenance access shaft. 12 minutes until Dahlia's team must withdraw, Winters replied, checking her watch. Then we climb fast. The ascent was grueling. 50 levels of emergency ladders, occasional patrols to avoid, and the constant fear of discovery. When they finally reached the appropriate level, they were breathless but determined. The processing chamber should be through that corridor, Dr. Patel whispered, pointing to a hallway illuminated by pulsing blue light. Capper edged forward, using a small device to scan for energy signatures. Heavy Voidborn presence inside, at least 6 entities. Pierce turned to his team. Winters, you're with me. We clear the room. Patel, Capper, you follow once it's secure. They moved with practiced precision. Pierce and Winters stormed the chamber, their weapons firing focused electromagnetic pulses, the only armament they'd found effective against Voidborn physiology. The alien entities convulsed as the pulses disrupted their neural patterns, collapsing to the floor. Clear, Pierce called. Dr. Patel and Capper rushed in, immediately moving to the central console, a crystalline structure pulsing with multicolored light, each flicker representing a trapped human consciousness. The sight was both beautiful and horrifying. There are billions of minds in there, Patel whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Capper was already connecting their interface device to the alien technology. We need to hurry, they'll have detected the disturbance. As Dr. Patel began the upload process, alarm signals pulsed throughout the structure. The Voidborn had discovered the intrusion. We've got company, Winters warned, taking position at the entrance. Lots of it. Pierce joined her, weapon ready. How much longer? 3 minutes to complete the upload, Patel called, fingers flying over her tablet. The system is fighting back. The first wave of mindless human guards appeared at the corridor entrance, followed by Voidborn sentinels. Pierce and Winters opened fire, dropping the front ranks, but more kept coming. Fall back to position 2, Pierce ordered, and they retreated to a more defensible position inside the chamber. 2 minutes, Patel announced, sweat beading on her forehead. The firefight intensified. A pulse blast caught Winters in the shoulder, spinning her around. Pierce pulled her to safety, applying pressure to the wound. I'm fine, she insisted, raising her weapon again with her good arm. 1 minute, Patel called, but her voice was tense. There's a problem. The final firewall is stronger than anticipated. I can't break through remotely. Capper looked up from his position. Someone needs to manually connect to the mainframe. What does that mean? Pierce demanded. Capper pointed to a crystalline apparatus at the center of the room. Direct neural interface. Someone physically connects to upload the final code sequence. That's suicide, Winters protested. The energy surge would fry a human brain. Capper nodded grimly, but it would work. Before anyone could stop him, Capper sprinted to the apparatus. Raj, no, Patel screamed. Complete the mission, he called back, placing the code transmitter against the crystal. Tell them I helped save everyone. He pressed his palm against the interface panel. For one moment, his body went rigid as energy coursed through him. Then, the entire chamber pulsed with blinding light. Pierce shielded his eyes. When the light faded, Capper lay motionless on the floor, but all around them, the neural network was changing. The colors shifted, pulsing faster, brighter. "It's working," Patel whispered, checking her readings. "The code is spreading through the network." Throughout the chamber, the mindless human guards suddenly stopped. Some dropped their weapons, others stumbled as if drunk. A few fell to their knees, clutching their heads. "They're waking up," Winters realized. Pierce's radio crackled to life. "Commander," Dahlia's voice came through, "something's happening. The Voidborn are retreating from our position, and the people, they're changing." The awakening was spreading beyond the neural hub, into the city, across the continent, around the world. Billions of human minds, imprisoned for months in the Voidborn network, were fighting back, creating a cascading system failure. "We need to get out of here," Pierce said, lifting Capper's body. "This whole structure could become unstable." As they retreated through the corridors, they witnessed the awakening firsthand. Humans who minutes before had been empty shells were now looking around in confusion, fear, joy. Some were helping others, some were fighting Voidborn sentinels with their bare hands. They reached their module just as the neural hub began to shudder. Rising into the sky, they watched as similar structures around the globe began to collapse, overwhelmed by the rebellion of human consciousness. But the fight wasn't over. High above Earth, the massive Voidborn command vessel remained operational, gathering the surviving Voidborn forces. "They're preparing something," Major Ortiz reported from Hyperion. "Energy readings off the scale." Dr. Patel analyzed the data. "It's a purge weapon. They're going to try to reset the entire system, kill everyone rather than lose control." "Not if we stop them first," Pierce said grimly. "Dahlia, are you receiving?" "Loud and clear, commanders. We need every awakened human with technical skills. The Voidborn's primary weakness is their network structure. It's vulnerable to creative chaos." Around the world, newly awakened humans joined the fight. Engineers, programmers, even children with natural creativity began attacking the Voidborn systems. Each act of resistance, each unpredictable human thought created more disruptions in the alien network. Dahlia's team, now thousands strong, launched captured Voidborn shuttles toward the command vessel. Lieutenant Winters, despite her injury, led the assault team. "This is for Raj," she whispered as they breached the vessel's outer hull. The battle for the command ship was fierce but brief. The Voidborn, already struggling with their collapsing network, couldn't counter the unpredictable creative assault. Winters reached the command center and uploaded Dr. Patel's enhanced code directly into the Supreme Intelligence, the central consciousness controlling the entire Voidborn collective. The effect was catastrophic for the invaders. The Supreme Intelligence, suddenly flooded with the chaotic beauty of human consciousness, experienced something it had never known: emotion, confusion, wonder, regret. From Hyperion, Commander Pierce watched as the Voidborn vessels powered down one by one. The invasion was over. 6 months later, Earth was rebuilding. The neural technology left behind by the Voidborn had been repurposed, allowing humans to connect and communicate in ways previously unimaginable. Knowledge was shared instantly. Languages were no longer barriers. The collective human experience had been transformed. On a hill overlooking the rebuilding of San Francisco, Pierce stood with Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Winters, and Dahlia Reyes. A memorial had been erected, not just for Raj Kapoor, but for all who had sacrificed themselves in the resistance. "What do you think they wanted?" Dahlia asked, looking up at the stars. "Why harvest consciousness instead of just destroying us?" "They needed what makes us human," Dr. Patel replied. "Our creativity, our unpredictability, our emotions. They were a collective that had evolved beyond individuality, beyond feeling. They saw our minds as resources to exploit." "But they couldn't contain what they harvested," Winters added, touching the memorial with her healed hand. Pierce nodded. "They wanted us gone, our individuality, our chaos, our humanity. Instead, we showed them exactly why those things are our greatest strength." Below them, the city glowed with new life. Humans moved through streets once patrolled by mindless shells and alien sentinels. Children played in parks where Voidborn structures had stood. "We have a second chance," Pierce said, "to build something better than before." "We will," Dahlia promised. "We'll make it worth their sacrifice." As night fell, they remained on the hillside, four leaders of a reborn humanity, watching the stars, no longer with fear but with determination. The Voidborn had tried to harvest what made humans special. In doing so, they had inadvertently helped humanity discover just how powerful those qualities truly were. The revolution hadn't just freed Earth, it had transformed it. Humanity would never be the same again. And when they eventually ventured back to the stars, they would carry with them the lesson learned from their darkest hour. That the chaos of human consciousness, our creativity, our emotion, our individuality, wasn't a weakness to be exploited. It was our greatest strength.